you don't want it enough. Or maybe you want it too much. Well, which is it? Today I want to propose to you guys this idea of this great paradox in life. This great balance, and the fact that life itself forces you to balance it out. Right? If you want to start something, if you want to become proficient, good at something, start your business, learn an instrument, go to college, and you have to focus on whatever degree you're getting, you sort of have to force yourself to become focused on it. And when you focus more and more, you become obsessed with it. Right? But you get to this point in doing so where you kind of have to let go. And Fight Club talks about this as well. You get to a point where you just have to let go, because life is too absurd for you to deal with. You become so obsessed with something that you lose focus of everything else. And at least for me, your mind just sends you into a spiral of not knowing which direction to go and feeling lost. But it's so weird because the day before you may have been the most focused you've ever been. But it's this weird paradox, this balance that doesn't really make any sense, but yet just is how it is. And you can't live life in either spectrum alone, right? You can't live in either extreme. You'll just live a miserable life. Sure, you may not have the pressure within your mind, but eventually over time you'll be worn down, right? If you obsess over something and never give your time for rest or sort of detaching from it, then that thing will fail you, right? If it's a job you want, a career you want, anything you want, any amount of money, any possession, any person, it's going to fail you. But if you just let go and never obsess over something in your life, then you live a life that amounts to nothing. Because you tend to hold on to experiences which can be good, but eventually you'll let go from those experiences themselves, and then you have no foundation. It's really weird how we need both of these things though, right? You go through phases of your life where one is prioritized, or one day, one half of the day looks like one and one half of the day looks like the other. And I really want to talk about this because this is my story, you know? It's like, this is what I feel every day, is this constant pulling back and forth between these two sides of wanting something and obsessing over it, wanting to strive to get there, the desire to reach that goal because purely for the fact that I can and I have the energy and effort to do so. But at the same time, it's like when I get closer and closer or focus more and more, it's like, why am I doing this? Like, I just feel it becomes worthless and it becomes confusing as to even why I started. And I know many people can relate to this as well. But I find it ironic and so stupid that this is the way that it is. It doesn't make any sense. But then when you think about life and how it has its many balances from winter to summer and all the in-between, and you look at everything about life and how it's structured, there's always some sort of balance. Two extremes. And the answer is often found in the middle. And I think this is one of the most important videos to me that I made so far. And I'm sort of just realizing that now because it's like, that is the answer to life, is the balance. And I'm not talking about like a work-life balance or anything like that in terms of career. I'm looking at a more broader scale of this. And it's like, you have to develop a balance, because if you force yourself to one extreme, it may feel comfortable and feel like you're doing the right thing, but your mind's going to drive you insane. You know, at least for, I guess, those who would have like a higher intellect and higher capacity for thought. And not that that's like a good or bad thing, it's just that's the way you're wired. And it's not necessarily just purely intelligence, but it's like how you think, like how your internal dialogue or whatever, like how that reacts within you, right? Like how much you think logically, emotionally, all this stuff. It's weird. And that's what I found through this kind of experience of living the past couple of years of my life dealing with this. It's like the answer is literally just a balance. It's both, right? You have to desire something and have motivation to wake up in the morning and pursue something. And I think it should be more about your character rather than just material things, and about becoming a virtuous person. But at the same time, you sort of have to detach from those things and just enjoy the simplicities of life. You know, and I'm going to have an upcoming video about this, and I'm going to write something on my Substack account being like this ultimate parity between work and rest, and looking at it from a biblical perspective, but also just a logical perspective. And I don't want to get into too much to it now, but it's like you work throughout the day so you can earn that rest. That's deserved rest, because now we have too much undeserved rest, and we think that that's letting go, but it's not letting go in the right way, right? We didn't earn the letting go. So I guess if you were to look at that from the same perspective, this ebb and flow of both, it's like you have your obsession, the thing you desire, right? The work that you put in. And I don't mean just for career work, but also like the thing that you're passionate about. You know, like the thing for me, this is this YouTube channel, and anything I do, you know, besides that, trying to make like my own brand, whatever that looks like. And it's like that desire, that thing that I want. But at the same time, it's like at the end of the day, it's like I can't just keep focusing on that. It'll drive me insane. I will go insane if I don't take time to rest and just enjoy the simple things. That's why in the evenings I love watching the sunset, you know? I try to find like a hill, just some place that's high up where you can have a good view, and I just watch the sunset, and I just listen to the birds. You know, I focus on something simple, right? And I just enjoy just a piece of fruit or a new song I learned on guitar, right? And if you only looked at that side of me, and you think I do that all the time, you think I have no drive, no purpose, but in all the other hours I'm showing up with effort and energy into that, right? So and ultimately that's why you can't live for people. You know, you have to live for yourself and your own progression, not selfishly, but paying attention to how you are living your life, and ultimately what you're thinking and how that comes out to how you're acting. And eventually, the more you build that up, you build up your character and who you are. You'll be able to help other people and serve other people if you have that background established. So in that sense, you have to sort of start with yourself. And many people try to start, and when I say start with yourself, I mean pay attention to like the actual virtues and values that you have, and not just the pleasure of yourself. Because this is what people see is they'll hear this and be like, okay, so I need to focus on myself more. And then they turn into pleasure. You know, they drink their worries away, their sorrows and their anxieties, and, you know, they smoke it away, and they create all these distractions and they scroll it away. And like, yeah, that's paying attention to yourself for the wrong reasons, using the wrong avenues to get there. Instead of reflecting and putting in the work, you're just brushing it away. You're covering it with fog, right? You're just throwing it in the closet and shutting the door, instead of going to the closet and cleaning it out and doing the hard work, right? It's just fascinating, this spectrum that life is, and how everything is just a balance. And you got to learn to strike the balance in the sweet spot, like somewhere in the middle, you know? And it's tough because you can't plot it on a chart. You can't graph it. I mean, to some degree you can, but it's just statistics, analytics, logistics. It's not something deep. It's just superficial. But even then, it still shows a deeper truth. So I think we just have to focus on maintaining that balance, you know? And that's going to be a common point of this channel as well. You know, I want to do a lot of research into this idea of work and rest. I think it's really foundational to the human condition and how humans were made, how they were wired to live and exist. And understanding your full potential from a way of truth, a way that's beyond yourself, right? And to me, that has to come from God. That's the only thing that makes logical sense. Because I see all these superficial things on earth, and they're not all bad, but they just don't have any depth. They don't stick. They're not there with you when you're going crazy and you can't it hurts to think thoughts anymore, and all you can do is just cry and just stare at a wall. And this isn't some pity party, but it's the experiences that we go through. How are we supposed to cope with that with anything material or any just random philosophy that there are so many ideas of? Yeah, things of those can help when you're feeling good, when you're doing well, but when you're so broken, the thing that has to heal you has to be beyond yourself and beyond other people around you. And that's why I follow God. And it's not me perfect in doing it, but when I'm doing good and I'm tempted to turn back to these ways and just live life as it seems easier to do and makes the most logical sense at the time being. I remember those times where I was so broken and hurt, and there's just some conflict there. And that always holds me back from that, because I get reminded about the truth. And I get reminded about how simple life really is when you hand it over to something bigger than yourself. And this isn't me trying to evangelize to you guys, but to just question for yourself what's true. I mean, you don't have to be some big philosopher to do this. You just have to be a normal human being, because every normal human being has the capacity to think and lay these things out and reflect over them. But just pay attention to where you've been in life and what's gotten you out of situations, and logically, reasonably think about if those things have depth to them. And if you find something that has depth to it like that, then that's what you want to follow. That's what you want to trust in. And it's a lifelong process. That's the thing that sucks. But it also paints the most beautiful picture, the most beautiful mosaic of what life really is. That's about all I have to talk about today. Yeah, really interesting video. It's probably my favorite one that I made. So again, just observe this thing, this paradox, this balance within your own life of being obsessed with something versus having to let it go and detaching from the idea, and how those things have to work together to form who you are. So thank you for your time.